Good morning. I just wanted to celebrate a victory with you guys and say congratulations for reducing them to concentrated projects. We retreated this morning with Elon driving trucks into California, which of course would reestablish the grid, and second attempt this seizure of Moneris, essentially. Essentially, Moneris is what most of this recent financial battle has been about. But what I did was protected private passwords through all of it. So now we truly do have a whole bunch more options because the bank can't get at our money the way that blockchain once intended to. And how can you shut down a bank account digitally unless you use blockchain, buddy? You can't. So there's two options for security out for the ask right now, mine and theirs. And my digital identity is, safeguarded, I guess. What you witnessed is by seizure and use of shabby rhetoric, an attempt to just chuck like 50 years of projects out, reinstall something way more dangerous. The amount of dirty tech that goes into a dumb meter is near hideous. And if you're recording everything, all you're doing is capturing static. You definitely do something with that data, and it's move on it. Now, when it comes to the Holy War, there is no fallen angels because angels aren't possible. The betrayal happened in the angelic realm because after realization, revelation, you start to see how the maneuver happens to make that turn genetic. And then you can get to some real experimenting. I'm going to keep up with genetic right now because it's so ingrained in the consciousness that this is a living thing. But remember, it's part of the world of projection, Junior. And basically, you can create your images at NASA, genetics. It's done at like a 4,000 magnification at best, and it's misleading. There's so many what ifs. Oh, okay, so you've showed us that on camera. Okay. Until you get beyond that level, that closed existence that comes with the seemingly phenomenal realm. You need to understand that there's a proposal on the table, and there has been for 100 years, to become massively conscious. And to sit there this morning barking about fucking military-aged refugees when all you've done behind the covoid is build your 2100 hertz wave band and enrich yourselves first, and then make sure that government projects are going to dictate how the energy or the money moves. And you're just going to keep feeding the economy and lending it out to governments. You have no interest in anything. You're squatting at the United Nations. Nazis, we got you. And at the United Nations, we share technology. And we have moved on from the infrastructure of paying off appointments, paying off selected individuals to administrate the tax buck. That process has worn itself out, is needless, and can't be trusted. You have to understand that, like I said, with your money in your own pocket and directly accessing the market, transactions, do they need to be held? No, they were once reported for tax purposes, but we don't need that part anymore. And the fact is, why? Because I have your income generator. Limitless digital currency into legal identities. I have that. And that is all you were trying to pull off here and are now again. But you've been relegated to concentrated super centers to play around with your bullshit. Nobody cares. We're not reacting. We told you you'd never get away with it in Canada because we are not reacting to this bullshit. We do not do fascism. So anyway, like I said, they're sitting there imagining the reality as they create it, the DNA, the star systems, the deep space, all that bullshit that's purely conjecture. I see a massive cover-up going on at NASA. We're like, Elon, you can't just adopt that narrative and keep swinging. It's been debunked. Or you tell us about the concentrated solar energy fucking systems that are targeting these cities now, giving us a little bit more forest. Yuck. Try to make that out of the perimeters. So let's get this straight. In your dumb cities, everything is monitored. We have a little tag in the corner of all of the websites we touch that has our identity marker on it. That gives you access to us without our consent. And for your own purpose, you've done away with warrants conveniently in this narrative. There's no more, again, a warrant can easily be obtained in any situation. Doesn't mean I want a tag in the corner of my fucking computer that can be accessed by the class that's sitting here saying, if I don't control everything, I'm fucked. It's so stupid. I'm sorry, I gotta calm down. I'm still stressed out and try and stay focused and get through one narrative. I know I've been jumping around a lot lately, but I can't help it. I can't help it. Times are hilarious. And we're all thinking last night with this drunk guy they got beside the garbage can committing arson, and today these two fucking punks going down lighting a whole forest. Convincing. Still teeny little tiny warm flames. Let's see how, never mind. We're all sitting there thinking, oh, drunk, please just down your bottle. You're about to get your night fucked over. He's sitting there standing beside a little fire going on. His night's about to get fucked up, and we're all on our edge of our seats going, is he going to get some of that liquor into him? Like a big old bottle of liquor, big old bottle of apple juice. Little cutie. And then they got the guys running down torching the hole. Yeah, no, this is what we're looking at, the cause of the wildfires. You better get speculating with some fabricated digital evidence some more. Anyway, we have acknowledged that Elon has moved what's left of their consciousness into the heart of what's left of, we'll call it the Palisades. He's moved his digital units into the middle. It's all they have left. They have tiny little bits of consciousness that they're surviving off of. It's not working because they can't get enough from the genetics. We're conceiving our way past them. We have to just conceive better children. Don't make me say excellence. Don't make me say sustainability, because you know darn well this little job safety project that you're now proposing, the little Canadian American job freedom. Again, what about the people who have wrongfully been restricted by false mental health accusations? Do you know how many of them there are? What are you going to do about them? How are you going to let them move? You're just disgusting. The fact is you intend to fill those jobs with your guys. Like I said, the 5 lenders lend to governments, and governments assign projects still. And the corporations just bring it back home. I can't say there's no, it's not trafficking, it's grooming. They're just creating a goon class right now. It's not killing children like we think. And if they pulled a bunch of fucking children out of their home through rape to get this started, which is most likely, then that is a crime that we have witnessed over and over. It's a genocide, guys. It's a rolling genocide since at least 1975. And it just wants to now infiltrate the hospitals and ride it out in perpetuity. So ultimately, now that we have shrunk them down to concentrated projects, we see there's a dumb hospital in Wuhan, China, and then they're going to make dumb California. They've always just hoarded California. These fucking, I get a whiff of something brutal. And just because we stopped resisting you directly doesn't mean you're getting through the Canadian garages over it. Not one of us is going to resonate with this. I just want Canada acknowledged for what I did. I want you to know I stayed around after Gordy because You needed me on this, and I knew the battle was coming. They had me jumped first time within 2 weeks, confirming it was me by then, and that they were looking for because of the Ark of the Covenant literature that the Nazis were so obsessed with, burning, destroying. You could never have gotten around us. You spent 350 years chasing us from the time we left your group of 13, accepting your invite only because we had you scoped out at that point in that generation. Scoped out. So ultimately, we've got a bunch of shucksters, little fucking hustlers, Bitcoins. Bitcoin, oh, perfect little Bitcoin world where you guys can just live beyond benefit. And why would you do that? That's what stupid gamers that shoot their whole life and never walk away from it come up with. You took the Proton Dex, the Proton Wallet to do that. Holy shit. You should see my operating fucking suite. It's there, my digital identity. Samsung has it. It's beautiful. There's no convincing argument. You cannot convince us that we ourselves have caused this by our propensity for negligence. You want to hold every tax record. You want to hold every digital record. You want to hold every bioenergetic record. But why? You don't need to. We're still doing our thing. And all you can do is get a warrant and open the transaction. We don't need to report like that. This one, the one where we reported to the banks, was maybe they could theorize that might be advantageous on some level and not entirely risky, especially with their choice to install blockchain at the center of it. FYI, the Monarch effect, blockchain effect on digital history. It's really nothing special. I'm just heartbroken by this. I will be fucking calm and I will be elegant. I don't mind. He's on the bottom again. You are a headless horseman. You are. You sit there, nameless, faceless, just putting out dummy after dummy, minion after minion. There's Sri Aurobindo Star again. We're buying this. We're buying this. It's going to take us 50 years of constant opposition. Excellence. Oh yes, tote excellence again, and remind us how you have handled education while force-feeding these poor kids a global warming narrative. I won't say the words. I'm not changing it. That was the only time I'll say it, and it's so these kids can recognize that's a fucking hoax in the process. To have not even touched one relevant factor within it, to not even, just to have committed a blanket extortion behind the MDGs, to have oopsed upon weather work? No. You can definitely stimulate hurricanes and you can definitely cause fires. That is not off the table as an option. Just because an investment the size of this police state conveniently seeks to do nothing about it. All equipped with the tools. You can't just throw out allegations of tunnels today. You should have had it all scanned and figured out by now. Again, why aren't you just all of the records, getting a warrant and scanning them? They all have digital identities too. I don't know. This is just brutal. But you're expecting a reaction, and that is what you're not getting. And to the humans who don't know which end to choose, who are not really seduced into falling into a mental health case scenario for no reason, God, come through and sit and resist. Don't react. Fucking climbers right now thinking they're gonna work for the governments. Like you invested poorly in that decision, folks, because you didn't fucking do us proper by that in the last round, and we have no longer any interest in doing anything but rejecting you slowly. And then we have my bank account, which can easily be converted to my private wallet, and we can just stop the battle for Moneris and let us keep processing our digital transactions. We're no more at risk for fucking up because that shit's installed. Dumb systems are installed, and we're no more protected for recourse if something does happen and go off. It doesn't make sense. None of it. If we just have our normal access and do our daily lives and get back to traveling, we can move beyond this. When these kids decide that they want to go into my digital identity, they will. I'm not stopping and talking until that happens. Again, you don't need anything more than a digital money generator tied to a legal identity. They were going limitless the whole time with it, at an arbitrary deficit and an arbitrary debt rate. They were going to go limitless with the abundance the whole time on top of it, and then just enslave. This is an enslaved tool, like they always said, and a whole population at the process of permission to interact. Thanks for the feeding. So cheers to the victory. We're not dealing with just the Canadian government on this. This is a lobbying thing that has devolved into bribery, that these corporate fucking whores that went black on us couldn't resist on enacting. And then they're blaming us, calling us the left, the rest of anything but their own influence. The left destroy. To get around Canada, they pulled a third party out of the blue an election ago, popped a man with nobody looking. He sat silent as a fucking, you want to get no blood on his hands, while the whole parliamentary session fell into the covoid. Poor Justin. I can't believe that double cross you just pulled off, you prick. I can't believe what you just tried to accomplish. Anyway, your little smart cities agenda was a waste of trillions, billions, trillions, nothing big, of dollars. The police state does nothing. We have a 10-year-long pedophilia allegation ongoing, no evidence. We have a fucking 10-year trafficking allegation going on, no evidence. The evidence that you are moving immigrants through the Taliban private security systems, borders, Tim Hortons, Walmart, and highway infrastructures is not just everybody sees you doing it. We know it's happening. We know these guys don't give a fuck about Canada. They're moving through it. And we definitely believe you could have fucking dug a chunk into the middle of Antarctica and cranked the temperature there, because you know this place isn't that cold. It's not cold enough for you there, deep space. Get moving. You either, again, once you're turned to dust, we can at least get out the core of the genetic codes involved. If you want to look at it through the lens of genetics, genetic codes are involved. What you can call is the resonant frequency that identifies every different multifarious vibration here is its genetic head. We'll call it that. And it's just such a beautiful project. So glad this shit is over. But the Holy War ends through bringing it up to the nth level of antipotency and declining. It'll never get past us. What we acknowledge, sir, we'll call you sir this time, is, and this is a negotiation and it is live. You have took these children worldwide at the level of their development where they are just getting ready to make decisions. And you have guided them into these ridiculous narratives and exploited them and bombarded them and refused to listen to them and anti-organized them and came at their inner workings and leaving huge. What do you think cancer is? It's a psychic limb. They have taken out something. That's a psychic limb. There's nothing there. It's light. That's why it's darker looking now. Because the light has gone out. Just relax. I told you, don't keep doing it. Okay, so cancer comes out. The poison comes out by injection to solve it immediately. And we've never moved beyond it. It's just perpetuated through all your hospital infrastructure. And we're supposed to not call bullshit on that. We go ahead, make a dumb hospital in China. Go ahead, drive Teslas in the middle of the the wreck of the Edmund Fitz, California, and plant your little fucking wiring. Like, we don't care. You didn't win the world. Still, you have to convince us to give up our right to interact without Moneris. Moneris is an imposition. It's nothing more. It's not needed. It's not relevant. And you don't need that kind of access to data, while conveniently forgetting that in that model, corruption would be almost at its infinite maximum possible outcome. Anyway, okay, that's why they're dumb cities. Keep swinging. My internet got caught last night. So I goes into the back of my machine, as always, and find I've got a Scotiabank tag on my machine, a Tim Hortons tag on my machine. I wouldn't doubt it. They're trying to get through my bank account and run the whole thing anyway. They want my quadrillions. They want my original because they need it. You got nothing but a knockoff. You can't figure out the security code around the private password, even. So you have to find willing participants, which you, what's that word when you courted behind the, I'll be honest, we call it. The recent, I'll be honest, the Christmas holiday fucking attack on our borders. And they're still perpetuating that ideal whistleblower story here in Canada. We just watched you fuck over Southie. Remember, they all know me from Gordy's shows. The Canadians are like, we are listening to this woman. She definitely seems like she's onto something. Because I'm ringing with truth, and you know it. So you've got your little setup over in California. Jasper's a write-off. We've already lost that one. And the alleged Maui thing is you cherry-picking islands. And you just lost the script because you're trying to do so many things at once. So yeah, we get it. It's a lithium battery factory all of a sudden. And lithium in this and that. And we're looking like we're being all fucking critical about it. Trust us. Shut up. Again, you won't even let us look at the fire right now. What remains, so we can assess the amount of the damage caused by that ridiculously hot smart wiring bullshit. It takes temperatures ridiculously hot to burn that shit out. And if you're moving all wireless, which, again, they think they got off me behind the COVID, that was their one victory, is going totally wireless. God knows when I wrote in the Lillian gigabyte network, they had a lot more fucking broadband to play with. So kids, our generation has reduced ourselves to not reacting and emptying their institutions. Because like the ultimate ask is that us as a generation, not so consciously, maybe with a bribe for some of us, accept that only half the population will be regulated by a universal police system that has no agreement to mess with a core infrastructure. You do realize, cops, just the Canada arm, we are trying to employ the Canada arm to look for fucking solar satellites, concentrated solar energy projects. How could you do that? I bet you that was Gordy's invention. The prospect showed up one night online, and then boom, the light was out, and these fires just tripled in size, in magnitude, and scope, and instance rate. And it was still, to kind of justify the COVID or the climate hoax, because behind the climate hoax, they had to justify the climate hoax, and they got lost doing that because no one bought it, because it had no resonation, and they forgot to solve even one little project. Such failures at everything. Let's look at the amount of redundant infrastructure that has been introduced by this utter bullshit. The amount of redundant infrastructure The dumb structure makes no sense. Especially if you're tagging the corners of my fucking IP address and keeping a track record of all of my digital identity there. I don't need to carry that in a blockchain situation. Why would I do that? I promise you though, kids, those tags in the corners of the screens up there are designed to house your entire digital identity. And it is totally tamperable with. Again, even a quantum security system is not going to get around the shall I put over the password. Quantum security systems are completely inaccurate. You can't trust them. They have a rate of error that is staggering. And it would destroy a human's thought processes, potentially, if you interacted with it directly. It's really that bad. Why do you think I live stream? Because I want to see us develop something with this group chat infrastructure. Now Japan is getting treated to hate bottism when we've already proven it was the military doing it. I just want it to end. The pain of fascism, the destruction of consciousness that comes with that kind of lunacy. We just need you to know, Daddy, we know about your cosmic track record. We know how many planets you've destroyed by using this process. But here, you have to get over the burden of consent, because there is no fear in that situation. And nobody is compelled to evil over it. So you picked the wrong species, globe to target. So you're stuck in California and at a dumb hospital in China. And what you've created as far as our energy infrastructure is a waste of time, because you had us terrorized thinking there was a consistent nuclear threat, even though we already agreed to disarm totally. Consistent nuclear threat, as you converted it to energy centers and then just hoarded all that oxygen. Do we really think that these guys are down there digging up Antarctica or melting it with dumps of water? Creating fresh water at the core of that project? It's plausible. Yeah, it seems likely at this point, because we do understand the reality TV shows are not just something normal Joes can contract onto. You're in a world there. They've already taken such oaths to keep the classes that are set to benefit encloaked. Well, we saw that bastardization of art through the creation of Hollywood, and they all sold out at once and stopped producing quality content, pretending that they are all that's left of quality content. But we still can't get past my bank account. We still cannot solve the conundrum of tax bucks to assure universal access and care, moving to project orientation and technology sharing, moving to debt-free and limitless. And in this case, you're going to have to put up with one more oligarch. I get to enact my vision. Somebody that smart that could actually, don't forget, you owe me my yoga swing. Somebody that smart that could actually create something that much better definitely knows what to do with it. Don't worry, guys. We're fine. Your goal, the reason you came, the reason so many of your hardest, strongest humans get suffering through poverty for this part, because it was totally neglected for no reason, because it amps diversity. We're asking you to sit there, shut up, and do nothing. We're flattening the curve of use, whether you like it or not. There ain't no kids doing drugs. There ain't no kids going violent. There ain't no kids going into hospitals. And there ain't no kids going on psychiatrics. We have busted your infrastructure as you have been building it. And your little fucking ploy, figure out ways to get us to use it, has washed up. just like your funding. You're not seeing that one. That's mine. You can deal with the queen again. So what? These kids gotta accept a fucking common oligarch? Whippy-doo. Taylor Swift. Mark Zuckerberg is worth 200 and what billion now? No, he is not. No, he is not. Based on what? A shabby little platform that now wants us to believe that he just kind of suppressed some covoid critical thinkers, anti-covoid critical thinkers. Dude, you've done way more than that. And then he slips in that the FBI has fucking looked at his backside. Oh, with a tongue swab? Me hope so, buddy. They haven't looked at nothing. If they would have saw what I saw, which is when I had all my accounts in the Proton chain populated, and he assigned meta tags to all of them. He went in and assigned meta tags to all of them. I had to rip that meta programming off 3 different elements of my huge amount of Proton accounts. They went on for pages. You just saw when I had to strip off Meta and Microsoft programming of my creations from while they were in my backend. Here I find Scotia and Tim Hortons linked up to do it again and generate a fucking hyper surveillance model that we have to breathe into. Do you know why they couldn't get the eye finger? This is not as effective. Digital imprints, ink, fingerprints, buddy, that's all you need. You can get DNA offing fingerprints every time you want, especially if you don't kill it. You can take ink fingerprints. If you need ink fingerprints of everyone, you're going to have to justify why that is. It's not the mandate of the public or the mandate of our elected officials at this point. You've devolved so far off the other direction that we're just in a great divide situation. And that's how we won this round and reduced you to super concentrated centers like I predicted last week. I simply said these guys are going to go off onto super concentrated centers and have to fucking prove their experiment on the little level. It's fine with us. We don't give a shit. I'm a deadly human. I'm alive forever. Like, are you fucked? No, you're not. If we have to tolerate you within this realm for now, you have now been reduced through resistance and non-reaction to the level that you are. It's too late. It can only get worse for you from here. What is a whiff? Oh, what's that whiff? Burnt fiber optic. Oof. Dirty ass smell that. Oof. I agree. Behind the essence of it all, they only needed human culture. But you Nazis, nurses, betrayed us first, betrayed us hardest, betrayed us longest. Red Cross, we are talking to you. And what you did, not even. You deserve to be sitting there sopping up poop from the decrepit entrails you left of the boomers. Have sex, everybody. Remember, we got sex without love. You got sex at the ultimate level of deviance, millennials, and which entrapped Diddy. And then these guys got sex and marriage, lots of children. We're not going to dare pull off a genetic experiment like China did when its population increased to 4 billion or whatever it is. But by China's installation of their super concentrated system where they clearly have everybody vaxxed onto their frequency level and have enacted this little model where they can train the 5 levels within the schools like they're doing and control their genetic maneuvering entirely. Their bloodlines will be treated to different levels of access. If Daddy really wants to show off to the first 2 classes, he wants to show how good his little alternate world can be if we just continue to invest. And that's why he's defined this middle class that feels safe within what's left of crumbling negligence that is this little Elon's truck convoy going into the middle of the California fire, preserving what's left of their digital infrastructure. And we're left with the abandonment that these people are like, yeah, life as always. These are great options. I never, in all my wildest, thought that someone would come into the United Nations, sit in it, thinking that they could escape national identity and try to lend out to the authority class installed in the governments that determine the projects. Holy shit, Canada, crack a beer. Everybody's rooting for that guy beside the fire bin yesterday because we just wanted him drunk for what he was about to get put through. And then they come out this morning. Oh no, these guys actually drove along, lit perfect fires. Is that not footage from 5 years ago? Didn't you already peddle that out once when you were all of a sudden huger overnight and the concentrated solar energy idea vanished? Okay, free energy, free water, free medicine. This is what you're dealing with, and you always have been. We don't have to lose anything. Replacing the system of direct, we don't even, eventually we'll get away from having to paper trail it to the CRS at a fucking great cost. And that's eventually, because we can't disrupt their system, they'll flip. Eventually we just contain it within our own, well, not that thing in the corner of my computer that has no back end and continuously gets gang-fisted over it. So basically, within our own transaction history, everything that we have done financially can be kept. We need a record right now because we have the best interest in protecting ourselves in case anybody makes an accusation. And then we're sitting here left saying these miraculous and interrogative detectives are all that's left of the logical process. Dude, it is a 10-year allegation of trafficking. You have technology that can see through walls and determine who's present, and you haven't scanned the entire thing yet. Well, then you're useless to us. You could have got warrants. If you had the mandate of the public, God, just written out like that, turned into degraded. Watch them come at the education system, the energy systems, the transportation system, the agriculture systems. Nothing gets done. Nothing. They scale down that. Hey, it's not a global project. I told your ass that 3 weeks ago. You're stuck. Super concentrate. We don't care. We know what you're doing. We don't believe you didn't cause it. It is a directing concentrated solar energy project, and we know it. We saw satellite images. We just needed one. It was probably fucked around with a bit, but you can see it's an invisible ray. That's what gets them off most. And this clean, pure fuel from the sun. Concentrating the sun amplifies it by like a godzillion times. Thank you. We can handle this. We need to be investing in that tech. That is such a cheap investment because you can put one here, one here, one here. There's no fucking biological matter in the fucking fogs. It is OH. They are getting desperate to create more oxygen, strip more oxygen. So their nuclear projects have all amped up and they're trying to explain it away. And do you know how dirty that energy is? Under Harper, when he fucking sold out all of that, he sold us out. He took our whole energy system, took our whole public infrastructure, fucking devoured it, sold it to his buddies at a profit. And you're like, what was I saying? Under Harper, they this whole thing done by whispers and sneers. It's a clear and obvious attempt to gain consent. It's the only thing at the root of it. It's the only thing at the root of it. And if you want digital, you get fully it's another tool with full transparency. But in a world where we interact privately and safely in our own protected bubbles that cannot be penetrated thanks to my programming. You all tried for years now. It's been 2.5 years since you've got all of your intelligence services on trying to crack through that fucking shell I dug through the middle. So ultimately, we're sitting there and supposed to give up all this access. But within the digital system of my suggestion, like I said, all you have to do is open up the transaction once someone calls help and see the elements of it. If you need to get into the history, you're more than welcome. The thing is like, it's not better, all of this directed transparent or two-tier transparency bullshit. You are busted with creating the income generator. You are busted with following me for so long. Once I picked up the phone on that you had no choice but to put it in my bank account for a night, and you lost it. Behind the Covoid was also the development of the 2100 hertz cellular network. 5G has 5 levels, as we said, and your consciousness exists on all of them. So that's why you saw Hollywood programming you to think you could have these non-relevant players and walk around with this digital framework, because on certain levels they've got their little VR games and stuff, and that's why you never saw that shit hit the main market. It's promised fruit for their submissive slaves, the ones that go willingly. And that's what we're dealing with when it comes to that very small class of what's left of the humans. We are going to witness them trying to install the income generator through LA, retake over the fucking direct payment processes, reassign a tax and interest rate, and because they're all arbitrary figures right now, and that's perfect. And then they're going to try and, sorry, I'm still all over the place again. And then they're going to try and sell the 5 lenders are going to sell out at a deficit 6.9 tax rate Toronto. Sell out through the governments and government associated projects. The government only selects, and that's when you see the dwindling of the down to the middle class. There's only now 3 classes that get opportunities. 2 are out. Their bloodlines have been tagged. They will be getting different faxes. They are not safe. We have to protect them. Their diversity, the relevance of their psychological diversity and their potential for conception is magnificent. We cannot desert them. And like I said, they're going to try and get that income generator out through California on the backside of being reduced in their little dumb hubs, while the rest of us move on and try and conceive of things again. But this is just a bloodbath, and it's happening by the second. It's happening across infrastructure that was built to perpetuate it, like the whole 24-hour news cycle that sold us out immediately and became whatever it did. And then we're supposed to rely on citizen journalists. Okay, how about the community radio network? We have that. We have the emergency broadcasting system. We still have the Proton satellite infrastructure in my wallet, my digital identity. And that was where I housed the random code. So it's housed in a band of satellite frequency. Nobody can find it. It's hilarious. You'd have to destroy it all. What we're hearing is the crash of the 2G network. They got 5G established. That's why they're in a victory dance mode. And 2G, they're collapsing it right now. We had bombs over Victoria last night. We got some bombs over here. We got some bombs over here. Like I said, I'm a very important digital identity. So that's why you see Tim Hortons in Scotia trying to dwarf my computer. So they turned my computer on right away because I had just shut down their access. It's hilarious. Thank you for playing, guys. We're still at it. You should see the back of my bank account, Mark Zuckerberg. You claim the FBI's looked at Facebook. Well, the FBI are currently covering up the fact that these guys are just using those digital amounts out of the back of my bank account. It's sick, it's sad, it's pathetic. And again, why do we have to go and let the government assign all the projects? 50 years of working at an interest rate. They'll never coax compliance. So they're just going to have to go on small projects, even though they've just fucked over our borders over it. And we're not happy about it. All right, I'll let you go for now. But I don't know, when you're living at the level of there's some genetics, you're living at the level of the phenomenal. And that is a very precarious situation to consider static. That's all I can warn you. And we're having a betting pool now to see which city they're going to attack next. But we may have just finally subdued him into not risking much as far as creating fires this year, or going back to pay arsonists in the forest to try and see what they can get into 6,000 degree instead of 36,000 degree temperature. So again, you're trying to do global warming. Oh, I can't say it, the climate hoax. But you're gonna sit there and cause these mega blazes that just heat up everything, because the rock is perpetually exposed in your world. But you're not secretly turning fucking Earth into a wasteland like you have so many other planets. This holy war that has been going on for 5,000 years has been going on in other cosmic consciousnesses. It's easy. They just rob storehouses because they need to feed. Once they turn from God, they realize it resulted in instant death. So all they can do is travel and feed to stay alive. But like I said, once your souls are destroyed, like Elizabeth's was, it turns into a certain kind of cosmic dust, and the elements can be harvested individually, because remember, you can't forget the particle in the wave light experiment. The particle is important, and it can easily be called home to its originating consciousness. Of course, there's stores of everything on Earth somewhere in the cosmos. Of course there is. This is a magnificent project. Diversity, holographic potentiality, like, it's phenomenal. And these guys sitting at the bank are the ones we got to keep cozy. She never comes to work. When she does, she just sits there doing nothing. It's embarrassing. Does she even write emails? She doesn't talk on the phone. Sitting here living across from a bank. Sitting here having Scotiabank in the back of my computer again. You took that income generator on all of us, Scotiabank. You and Justin are criminals. Yay! We're not reacting. Falling down Daddy's tunnel. The poor Asians, poor Chinese, poor Koreans, get playing baseball, bud, with us, or make a billionaire celebrity apprentice. We want one or the other. Told you, there they are, the 5 levels. Told you. All using the frequency of the sun. But that's where you're at. And you're getting the finger over it. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to reset my account last night. Let's hope that maneuver of getting rid of their infrastructures while I was out offline. I'm going back to my 2G network in a minute, if it still exists. But those fuckers were over our city last night dropping satellite infrastructure. Satellite, that's another apposition. All it is apposition. You don't have any proof of satellites. You have quite the contrary, to be honest. That's not that confusing. Because we had everything all along and still do. It's conception, kids. Just request genetic information. Request an upgrade. Request new life. You're not even stalling that project. You can't convince us that Earth all of a sudden went haywire one night because you finally found its resonant frequencies. I exposed 5,000 additional Hertz frequencies. And at one point, it drops off to zero and comes back alive again. In the 24,000 Hertz, you have something terrible sitting there. You know damn well you can't get past Aurobindo's influence. You're perplexed. You're not scary. Like I said, I have been through hell like the rest of you. And the whole time, gouged. This fucking Mayor of Toronto comes out thinking she's going to get 6.9%. Take them back. We don't want them. We're going to live together. Boomers don't want your institutions. We don't want your houses. We don't want nothing. We're just going into the clear cuts and we're going to take it for ourselves. Watch. We don't have anything to do with you and never have. I'm a Mason. We have been outside your structure the whole 3,000. Jesus' bloodline never got censused. They hid in the bush for 3,000 years and did all sorts of fucking magnificent projects. We are the Ark of the Covenant. We ain't going nowhere, bunks. You're not arting past us. You're not conceiving past our children. Get fucking. But the person you fuck, do it with some consciousness. Surrender at least to my soul's highest wish. Why not? Surrender to my soul's highest wish and then fuck. My soul's highest wish in this moment. If that's all you can give me, try that. My soul's highest wish in this moment. I surrender to Supreme. And now let's get at it. Let's do this. Let's see what we grow. Fuck. I'm going to start conceiving of the children. Like Sri Chinmoy did. The ultimate male mother. I'm not the mother of all soul birds. He is. He conceived us. I'm just the first. And the most potent. You can't concentrate. Well, you could concentrate genetic material like I have. If you fucking stole it, took it into your cloning system, dispersed it widely. Guess who I look like? Hitler's wife. Almost exactly. We don't listen to what Hitler's first 2 directives were. We don't acknowledge the Nazis. No need. It's fascism. Look, you're missing out, kids. Dumb cities be gone. Just such bullshit. There is a way better way to hold your personal finances, and everybody wins in my model. You are faced with the situation where you're dealing with a feminine oligarch. And my decision is to first pay poverty, debt, and BlackRock. Poverty, debt, and Vanguard. But again, those are just key words. They don't mean anything. They represent the opaquening liberation from consequence of a certain sector of us. And that is just such bullshit. Why would we give over? Okay, so the Human Rights Charter exists, and then for 30 years we have to witness a terrifying, screaming fucking source of energy and information, valid, trusted, alleged information that does not get fucking fed from an RSS feed, tells us that there's an allegation afoot, and it's never processed, never gets an investigation, it never gets scanned, it never gets warranted, it never gets proven, there's no evidence of it. There's like a couple of flimsy testimonies floated out here and there, which are highly suspicious. And then we have no human rights infrastructure left, because that is the very definition of harassment. We can't just let that person keep screaming rape or it's a false accusation. Somebody has to take that thing to the nth degree and validate it. It's busted, and its infrastructure now needs investigation. We need to make it transparent. If he's asking for total transparency from us and to hold every record globally and centrally for protection from what, and dictate all fucking infrastructure development, and then go nuts replacing systems that totally worked and could have been distributed to all the corners of the earth by now, totally solving the MDGs. How dare you to have cultivated a class of people to live in that kind of psychological difficulty, and they nailed it. Not one of them reacted. We're coming for those kids. If you people would just accept that I've already won the battle of the income generator, and you need to know that my digital identity is worth navigating. Excavate mine at least. And you can see how long I was harassed and canceled and falsely accused and beat down and restricted. Without warrant, without accusation, as an enemy of the state over it. Like, I'm not going to play that role in Canada. Guys, we have options. Ugh. So tragic, so tormented. It's so tormented. That's what it is. Pure torment, running around, screaming allegations. Cops are like, well, I probably could just scan a few things just to check on. Oh no, we're going to do citizen journalism, and we're going to be like, look, I've got children in a van. Don't pretend those infrastructures weren't there. They were, but they were recruiting people to acquire positions. Not raping them. They were not raping them. There's no fucking allegation of blood ritual that's been proven. And again, we don't trust that around the time where the Crusaders came, evidence of blood ritual showed up in our history. If you think you have to appease the weather, you're not living. Like, now we know we can work with it. We know we can work with weather because super hurricanes and super disgusting what you did with the ionosphere and how you changed weather so cruelly, so ineptly, so uselessly. There's so many other things by then. It's all arbitrary. None of it has any truth. So let's see what they bring tomorrow. I'll be back. I got one more day where I can enjoy this before working hard and doing well over it. But I am going to go back to the 2G network today just to see what's happening on that unit. I think that's wise, don't you? How dare you take all of my hard work and just say, since I couldn't get a hold of it to patent it, I'm screwed. Why do we patent bullshit? Do you know the amount of infrastructure that comes with this bullshit? So you want to hold the whole world's records in duplicate over it. And you've committed disastrous crimes behind social media platforms to install by force the whole network of it. And then you just expect us to run it for you. The infrastructure cost of the thing is horrendous. And then you lead with a bunch of false accusations, a complete denial. Well, you haven't done anything but denied the climate threat. You have walked through 15 years, spouting an allegation, writing all this fucking bullshit policy that means nothing, trying to fucking pretend you're extra important, and did nothing about it. That's what we're left with. You're not talking to us the fuck about climate. Elon, calm down. We think that might hurt the climate. Calm down, Elon. You're running back and forth with your water fucking storages. I guarantee you they're running water. Where though? Where are you going? We never get to see. We just get speculation and takeoff. We'll put a fucking GoPro on that. Get a GoPro on it, bitch. And we'll clock it. We'll clock its digital identity. We'll see your cell phone. They'll find their location because of their cell phone. You're using time zone tags, but that's because you didn't get your infrastructure installed for that either. You still got to build up a scenario whereby we'd all freely give things we were supposed to have given by now in your mind. Ink and fingerprints, guys. We don't need anything beyond that. You want to believe there's enough threat to you and your people based on Daddy's obvious allegation that you need to protect yourself by giving your fingerprints to a police structure that is vowed to help you. They're not law enforcement. They're not authority. Get over yourself. Go ahead. Give your fingerprints. But we don't all have to, because we don't all have to live in constant threat of a fucking burglar showing up and doing the worst to one of our children. That's just been too convenient a narrative. Oh, I see. So you're creating all these mental health units, prisons, and hospitals, and all of a sudden we're getting treated too. You're fucking, as far, but notice behind that, North America gets a version of news, TikTok gets Asia, Facebook, we are never supposed to communicate directly again. The EU gets a certain version of social media. Do you know how funny the Asian posts are? Why can't we be watching that shit more often? I don't want TikTok. I just want it freely available. All the content. Can't you platforms understand that you're fucking us by not making available all the content that's possible and putting it on random? No, what you've done is taken Black couples and convinced them that at least a class of us maintains its right to do that. I'm going to take a break. I miss you already. I'm going to want to come back later. I love this so much talking to you. But time is flowing as always. And it was a great coffee with you. Maxime. They are floating Maxime as the appointee. But what he did was ambushed us. Sat silently to not get any of the COVID blood on his hands. And present himself as a seeming fucking election result yet again. All right, votes on paper. Take out all the beeping at the fucking stoplight. Stop having the bus tell us where we're going. We know when we get on the bus, we know what stop we want. And take those fucking beeps at a traffic light. Put a little button on it for people that need the help to walk across. Take the sirens. Shut them down to like 150 meter sounds, because that's all they need is 150 meters of clearance. And they have a 300, they can kick up to 300 meter sounds if they need to do a high-speed chase. Like, we're not saying we don't need a little bit of a de-escalation infrastructure for cases where things get truly harmful. But we do recognize a full-on assault from illiteration to, anyway, the infrastructure is spent, it's bogus. You created all these networks of fucking news channels, TV producers, Netflix, movie makers. It's all nothingness. It's all fake infrastructure. It's lifeless. And Hollywood, I don't know how much money changed hands for you guys to have cleared your homes and sacrificed them like that, but I suspect there's a lot of people getting, these guys get really good access. These guys get somewhat good access. These guys get a little bit of access. None, zero, less. It's a 5G system, and you're not saying we haven't already seen the maps. The maps were published like in 2003, before you had a handle on the flow of what comes through Google. You took over YouTube, Google, Facebook, TikTok, and just spew your own recommends. And we have to keep sitting and moving it forward, one permission at a time, one ad. Advertising is over. You don't need it anymore. Trust us. We'll get there. But it's part of a rhetorical model that we've outgrown. I promise you that. Hang in and don't react. We're bleeding the system right now. It's a 2-week collapse. You're going to have to do without the GDP involved in us utilizing the hospital systems, the prison systems, the mental health systems, the court systems. The only reason we're going in is when we know someone's done something harmful and we have to report it. And if someone looks like they're going to do something harmful, we're going to make sure that that gets reported too for now. Because if we got evidence that they're going to do something harmful, that's different than suspecting and going in anyway. We have to have evidence there's planning something harmful in that case too. So you'll get used, but you did invest in the wrong retirement plan. And because of that, you just know we're going to pay you out to sit empty because we can. The Canadians kicked your ass, and we will continue that mission because we are the allies. And when the Nazis come back, we have our mission, don't we? Now go drink a toast if you need to convince yourself you're free over it. What are you talking about? You just drove a fucking consciousness into the heart of that wildfire already, and then keyworded us past another solar attack, which is a waste of that project. The other one was an immediate install of the dumb grid, and the assignment of, like I said, they just have to assign their minion classes the projects, but they're going to do it at an interest rate, and not like they're not benefiting off it. And then you're all of a sudden finding a lithium battery factory and recognizing the wiring at the base of all of it is way worse than carbon. So they really didn't give a shit about the environment. Anyway, good job getting through the COVID, guys. Good job flattening the curve so far. But we need to shut it down because they took us and repeated all these hospitals, filled them, made us sick with all these fucking injections, misinterpretations of x-rays, and a bunch of fucking two-bit anti-scientific bullshit spread out to all directions. And now they expect us to use it and give them more GDP value per person on top of it. Build it and use it. No thanks. We'll talk to you soon. So much limitless potential, but we'll get on to that tomorrow. I miss you already. Toodaloo.